Hey everybody, and welcome back to another video on the channel. If you're new here, my name is Jeff Fagan, and today I wanted to do this video for a long time. We are talking about why you should not be using the Metabones Speedbooster, RF to EF, EF to RF, really specifically the Metabones Speedbooster made for the EOS R on the RED Komodo. So, I've had a lot of questions being asked, why should you not be using it? And I figured I'd put together this video and pretty much explain the path of why it is not a good idea. So first, I'm going to bring up the Metabones Speedbooster and why it's so popular, especially compared to the Canon. So here we go. Here's the Metabones Speedbooster. And as you see, it is $479 on B&H. And then the Canon, which I'll pull up in a second, is $599 on B&H. So as you can see, although B&H does list it as the Canon RF mount camera, if you look on the actual adapter itself, it is made for the EOS R. I'm trying to see if it'll let me magnify that. Nope, it will not. So it says EOS R right here on the front of the adapter. And so where things come into play a little bit is, yes, you could say, oh, this is made for an RF camera. So I went straight to the source and I actually sent an email to Metabones back basically like before I got my first Komodo. So I want to say in June of 2020. So it's been over 6 months. And basically here was the email I received back from them, and things have not changed since then. And it says, "Dear Jeff, thank you for your inquiry. We have not had a chance to test our EF to RF Speedbooster with the Komodo camera. We can't confirm the compatibility of electronic function yet," which I will go over that in a few minutes. But this is the juicy part. The image circle, the diagonal millimeter of our EF to RF Speedbooster Ultra 0.71 is 28.2 millimeters, which is smaller than the Komodo, which is smaller than the sensor size of Komodo. Out of the design image circle, it may result in vignetting, soft image, or black window. Sorry that we do not have a specific plan to develop a specific model at the moment, but we are unable to discuss future projects. And that's the bulk of the email. Now, I'm not saying that Metabones is not going to come out with a speed booster for Komodo at some point. But what we're talking about here is the fact that right now, their only RF speed booster is really designed for the EOS R. So can you use, and we'll pull back up the Metabones speed booster over here. Give me one sec. Let's pop this bad boy up. But so the question is, can you use the Metabones Speed Booster on the Komodo? Yes, you can, but there's going to be a few things that I would like to kind of, here, let me reframe myself. There's going to be a few things you should know if you're planning on using this adapter with your Komodo. So number one, like they said in the email, you're going to have a little bit of vignetting, and that's really going to come at 17:9, 6K full frame using the full sensor of the Komodo. You're going to have a little bit of vignetting on certain lenses. You're also going to have issues when, again, shooting at 6K with corner sharpness. The corners of the optics in that lens or lens adapter were not designed to be used. And that's part of the reason why they're trying to tell people it's not really made to be used with Komodo, because they only designed you to use them on a full frame crop of around 1.7, 1.8, a full frame. So that area of the image circle on the Metabones adapter is what was meant to be used. So if you wanted to shoot with Komodo and you wanted to have decent image quality, you're really going to have to shoot at 4K, a 4K crop, which is about micro four thirds realm, or a 1080p crop. Now, the other issue that Metabones has is they have some flaring in their adapter, which they have in some of their other adapters, but it's not nearly as bad as some of the third-party options, but it is there. So when looking at why you would want to use the Metabones Speed Booster, it really comes down to a price thing. A lot of people are looking at the price of the Metabones and availability of the Metabones versus the price and availability of the Canon. and it seems like it's a better option. But if you're looking at image quality, the Canon is the much better option. So let's pull up the Canon Focal Reducer right here. And I've got this screen. And if you guys are watching this after the fact, I'm doing this video live as I'm still out of town, but I wanted to have this video to answer some of those questions. And if you guys are watching this after it was live and you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments and I will get to them as I see them. So here is the Canon mount adapter, 0.71. So still the same magnification, but the difference between the Canon 0.71 and the 0.71 for Metabones is that the Canon was designed to be used on a Super 35 sensor. So now the Super 35 sensor, some people, if you want to get technical, could say, well, that could vary between camera to camera. Not all the cameras have the same Super 35 sensor or the same size Super 35 sensor. But it was designed for the Canon C70, which has a very closely matched sensor size to the Komodo. So by using the Canon specific one, you could then use full sensor 6K, 17:9, and you could use any of the crops. Now, in addition to that, you can also get less flaring. Now, before we move on, I actually almost missed one very critical point with the Metabones Speedbooster. And that also is the electronic capabilities with certain lenses. So the Metabones Speedbooster isn't compatible with every single lens that's out there. So even if you do buy it and you're willing to shoot in 4K, and I'll pull that up just so we have it to look, but even if you're willing to shoot in some of the lower resolutions and use the Metabones Speedbooster, you still may not have compatibility with all the lenses. There isn't a lens chart out there because certain lenses that aren't compatible with Komodo are compatible if you're using this adapter with the EOS R. That's what it was designed for. So you're kind of playing Russian roulette with what lenses you'll be able to use with this Metabones Speedbooster. Now, part of the reason I've been getting asked the question about it was people have found the Speedbooster used on the used market for basically half the price of Canons. So they wanted to take a gamble on it. And I'm just telling you guys right now, if you're interested in doing it, I would look at the Canon one. We have Ben in the chat. Hey, Ben, I hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining this live stream here on the channel. So yeah, also guys, as you're joining in, if you have any questions on what I'm going over, make sure to hit me up in the chat and I will pull them on screen once I finish basically going through everything else. So back onto that, I wanted to finish up with the electronics. So that was the other big thing with the Metabones Speedbooster, the fact that it is not compatible with all your lenses. So again, you're taking a risk there. You're going to have that problem a little bit with the Canon, and it's not with as many lenses. I have heard certain lenses aren't as compatible with using Canon Speedbooster, but you have also a lot more compatibility with it. So for the extra money and yes, a little bit of the extra wait time, I would absolutely recommend picking the Canon Focal Reducer because you're going to have better image quality. You're going to be able to use it at all crops, depending on, at all sensor resolutions on the Komodo, depending on if your cameras or if your lens is a full frame lens or Super 35, APS-C. You're just going to have a lot more options with the Canon. So, you know, in the end, it's about $120 more, and I think it's worth every penny. So those are the reasons why you should stick with that. I have the Sigma Art zoom lenses. Let me pull Ben's comment up. I have the Sigma Art zoom lenses, so this would probably cause vignetting. Well, yes, it would cause vignetting if you were going to shoot at 6K full sensor. Now, what a lot of people have been asking me about, which is why they wanted to try the Metabones, a lot of people actually want to get these Metabones Speedboosters not to actually shoot full 6K. And I don't know if you guys can hear the siren behind me, but there's actually, that building behind me is actually one of the biggest hospitals in town. So it's going to happen. So yeah, it's going to get in my head. I'm like, whoo, where's it going? Yeah, so if you're going to shoot 4K, and you're going to shoot 4K on the Komodo or 1080, but let's just say 4K to make it simple. The 4K crop with the focal reducer is Super 35. So what a lot of people want to do is they want to shoot 4K 60 at the Super 35 crop, which then lets you use the full glass of your Sigma lenses at 4K 60. You no longer then have that micro four thirds 2x crop in your Sigma zooms with using this focal reducer. And that's a really good reason to get it. To be fair, that's really my reason to get it because, you know, I was talking to somebody on the RED Komodo users group today, and what a lot of people don't realize is although a lot of us like to call ourselves resolution perfectionists, we're getting this Komodo 6K and we're going to shoot at 6K. A lot of people have the higher resolution RED cameras, whether it be the 8K Helium or the 6K Dragon, and a lot of them will shoot 5K, 4K, and they do that not necessarily because they want to crop in, but because they are trying to save hard drive space. And believe it or not, that is still a big thing on set. I have shot on multiple productions where they have wanted to shoot 4K just because they needed to save space on the cards. So if you are in that situation and you want to save space on your cards, have smaller file sizes, then having the focal reducer will let you at least use the lens as it was intended to use. And you also get that extra stop of light, which although you get the extra stop of light, if you're cropping in on the sensor, that's basically going to combat with having to shoot at a lower ISO, which, you know, I talk about that in a second. But the extra stop of light when you're shooting at 4K isn't, it really just gives you some extra benefits. But I would say the extra stop of light is more beneficial when you're actually shooting at 6K, because that's where that extra stop of light will come in, where you can use the same original ISO set without worrying about grain. So yeah, Ben was saying he didn't think of that. Look, not a lot of people do think of that, and it's just because, you know, if you're getting the 6K, the Komodo 6K, if it's not a lot of people do think about it, and you know, even when I've been on those productions, I was kind of like, well, if we're shooting with the Dragon 6K, why are we not shooting 6K? And that was the exact reason why. They're like, we have enough hard drive space to do 5 days of shooting, but at 4K, not at 6K. And the thing was, they shot at 4K at, I want to say it was 5:1 compression. So take that with what you may, but that's why they shot at a less compressed 4K versus a higher compressed, higher resolution. Ben's asking, so it would be a Super 35 crop at 4K. Yes. With the focal reducer, it would be a Super 35 crop 4K. It's not going to be the exact same crop as Komodo, because Komodo at 16:9, or sorry, 17:9, its crop factor of full frame is 1.33. So it's a little bit wider than what most people are expecting for Super 35, which is great. I guess they call it Perf Super 35. With the Speedbooster, you are going to get Super 35, but it's, excuse me, I just had dinner before we did this. So with the Komodo at 4K, you are going to get a 1.5 crop of full frame. So it's going to be a little bit more narrow than the Komodo's full 17:9, but it's going to be wider than a Pocket 6K, which is a 1.6 crop. Wider than APS-C. So again, that's why people are going with it. Now, when you're shooting at 4K, one of the things you have to remember is, and I was touching on this a little bit before, as you go higher into the ISO range, you're going to get more grain. So for instance, if I was shooting at 4K, I would probably top out my ISO at like 400 if you're trying to get super clean images, maybe 500, but I wouldn't go above that if you were shooting in 4K, which is where the extra stop of light comes in. Since you don't have as much usable ISO range, at least you have an extra stop of light out of your lenses. Yeah, no problem, man. No problem at all. That's part of the reason I wanted to do today's stream. Um, Again, I've been getting a lot of questions about the focal reducer because a lot of people want to use it specifically. Actually, I think I know more people who want to use it for shooting at 4K and get a super 35 field of view than who actually want to shoot 6K full sensor, getting like a full frame, field of view. And I get it. I get it. And to be fair, that's probably the main reason I want to do it. And it's actually less about, with me, it's less about the file size at 4K. And I think more being able to shoot 4K 60 at a super 35 crop. So when I want to do stuff like shoot sports, I can get that super 35 crop off of something like, let's say, my Sigma 50 to 100. I can get that super 35 crop and I'm not super cropped in. I'm getting about what was designed to be used out of that lens. So no problem. Thank you for tuning in, Ben. I guess I'll just end this back with, I started off today's stream showing the official statement from Metabones on their on why you should not be using their speed booster. So I'm going to kind of end it with that. If you guys have any questions before that happens, here we go. Feel free to put them in the comments. But I meant today's stream is supposed to be somewhat of a short stream. I'm not going to go for a whole hour. I'm actually still in my hotel. I was supposed to come home today, but some stuff happened and I got stuck here for another day. But I will hopefully be back in the studio tomorrow in time to put out a video next week, which actually, for you Komodo users in here, probably going to be very interested in that video because as I had my Komodo with me this week, I actually didn't need the Komodo for this job this week, but I brought it with me anyways, and I just got some shots with it. But the reason I brought the Komodo was I have a microphone that was sent to me from a company called Comica, and it's the VM20 condenser microphone. And I can't take it off because I'm actually using it right now to do the live stream. But it is a powered microphone, shotgun microphone, that puts out enough gain if you turn it up to the max volume that you can use it with the Komodo without having to have an external audio adapter or any kind of audio interface. Now, it's not going to be usable for every situation, but to be fair, I'm probably not going to have it on the camera like I do with the camera I'm using right now. But if I wanted to, let's say, boom a mic, I can boom this mic and it's the perfect mic to boom and I don't have to have an audio interface. So I've been very stoked on this microphone and I shot a lot of the tests already. So hopefully it probably won't be out Monday. This week, I'm just going to give you guys a heads up. It won't have a video out on Monday. Probably be out Tuesday or Wednesday, just because I'm going to get home pretty late tomorrow night and I'm going to have a day to kind of catch up. But yeah, anyways, enough on that spiel. Look forward to that later this week. Ben says, yeah, 4K 60 is huge too. That's definitely exciting. It is. It is. The only thing I don't really have a lot of experience about, which you probably noticed I haven't touched on today, is where it'll be at 1080 or 2K 120. I don't know how often I'll use that, but that is something that I am going to be looking at. Yeah, no problem, Ben. No problem at all. Yeah, if you're interested in getting the focal reducer, I have a link in the bio below. It's actually not affiliated. I'm not affiliated with B&H, but B&H, Adorama, those, and some local camera shops, those seem to be the places to buy them right now. You pretty much want to put your pre-order in on them now because you'll notice that they're back ordered or they say pre-ordered, and it's not really pre-ordered. They're fulfilling them as you order them and get placed on a queue. So you want to order them now because you'll get it whenever you come up in the queue. And for at least the near future, you're not ever going to see B&H and Adorama have the in stock because so many people are buying them, not just for the Komodo, but for a lot of the other, for the R5, the R6, the C70. There's a bunch of cameras where people do really want this focal reducer. So there's a line. So if you're interested, definitely get it now. Put yourself on the pre-order list. B&H does not charge your card off the bat. They do place an off, but then that goes away after a few days and they charge you when it ships. So definitely put the pre-order in now to save your space in line. And yeah, guys, we're at 20 minutes right now. I think I kind of covered what I wanted to cover today. Thank you, Ben, for joining and everyone else for joining. It was a little quiet on tonight's session, but it was a very impromptu. I think it was when I got my third question about this specific topic for the day, and I don't get asked it every day, but I do get asked it a few times a week. I figured, you know what? Let's do a video. Let's cover it. Let's talk about it. And that's what we did. So thank you guys for joining me. I'm going to wrap it up. And hope to catch you guys in the next video. If you guys like what you saw, make sure to hit the like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Until next time, my name is Jeff Fagan. I'll see you guys in the next video.